I was on Leah Halpern's show, and I don't know how we got on this topic, but it was the topic of women who would name their children, their sons in particular, after ex-boyfriends, after the ones that got away, after the alpha widow, the guy that was the one she wants to constantly be reminded of. So if his name was Dave or something like that, and your name is like Schmo, then your son's now, I want to name him Dave. Okay, sounds good, you know. And then you find out from her sister or one of her, you know, her cousins or whatever, hey, wasn't Dave your old boyfriend's name? Like, you'll find out, you know, and guys will try to like, oh, really? You know? And yes, I'm aware of what's his face, Adam Levine, like naming his daughter, I guess, after some chick that he liked or something. Like, I get it, you know, it could go both ways, but like very rarely, whenever I hear it, it's usually the woman who's like naming the son after a former lover, after the guy who left the most alpha impact on her. That is far more common a situation. However, the reason why that's like an existential betrayal is because it requires the guy to believe in a lie and to believe in this. You got to maintain the secret for a lifetime. And it's, you know, you wonder, like I have had these conversations before. Well, people say, well, you know, infidelity, or no, it is cuckoldry is really not as common as you think it is, right? It's only like 10%. It's only, I've seen it as low. I've seen numbers as low as 2 to 3%, and I've seen it as high as 30%. It just depends on who's doing the research and who's collecting the data and interpreting the data. So if we can say it's as low as, let's say, 3% and as high as 30%, let's just take it in the middle there. So what, 15, 16%, somewhere around there, let's just say. So if that's the case, you know, it seems like, oh, well, it's very, very rare, you know, cuckoldry. Well, the reason why we call cuckoldry what it is right now, or we say, oh, well, you know, she had a secret love, it's a love child. It's my love child. You don't know that it's yours, right? It's really not yours. That level of betrayal is an existential fear of men for men, I guess. And because we want to know that the damn kid is ours, because if it's not ours, it's not going to be ours. I married a slut who fucks like a prude, right? I have invested my resources, my time, my territory, my life, catering my life to afford this woman a lifestyle and these children a lifestyle. And I believe this whole time that those kids are mine. That's where jealousy comes from. That's why we have the jealousy instinct in the first place. That's why it's very, very important. That's why it's so powerful in human males. And the jealousy response, the envy, the suspicion is a survival adaptation. It's a psychology or a psyche, part of the male psyche. Now, women get jealous too for other reasons. Now, there's different reasons why we do. But we get jealous as a result of not wanting to get cucked, guys, anyways, because we don't want to get cucked. We don't want to lose our investment in that woman and in that life because we think that the kid is actually ours. And we find out suddenly that it isn't. Yeah, that puts everything and it throws everything into chaos. Maybe divorce her, maybe kill her, maybe kill yourself, maybe whatever. I don't know. Depends on how that guy reacts to it. But that's something that is going to set guys off. I mean, it's one thing to have a mate guarding response, and that mate guarding is also intimately connected to that. Mate guarding is basically behavior, right? Whether it's cognitive or not, but it's also tied intimately to jealousy and to envy and to, you know, wanting to know that the damn kid is ours. That's why we have, you know, formalized monogamy. And yes, but you know, so shout out to the guys in Iron Disciples. I saw your response video, or I got about halfway through it before I had to start. But the idea of wanting to have to be married in the first place, that was to reassure guys that that woman is going to be loyal. The fidelity is going to the damn kid is going to be your kid. If I have to give up my access, if I have to give up unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, I'm okay with that because you're hot and I love banging you, and you, as long as you stay in shape and as long as the kid is mine, I will move heaven and earth for you. I've got a video from Andrew Tate here in the Tate files in a little bit here, talking about exactly that, with Patrick Bet-David in Madrid of all places. But But it comes back down to the want. Like, why is marriage a raw deal for guys? I talked about this last week. Why is marriage a raw deal? It's an all downside proposition for men. Why is it that men have more maneuverability and more access and more opportunities outside of marriage than they do inside of marriage? Well, it used to be that the only way you could have sex was to get married, right? That was like supposed to be the rules. Or at the very least, if you weren't, when you did get married or when you did become monogamous, then you were supposed to be patriarchal. Patriarchy at least implied that you had to be responsible for your wife and your kids. You had the authority over them, but you were at least responsible for them. Or you were supposed to be responsible for them, or else you were not a man of integrity and a man of honor, a man of responsibility, yada, yada, yada. Now, back in the day when you had the authority to exercise that responsibility, that was great. But the whole thing hinges on one agreement, one assurance. The damn kids are going to be mine. I will forsake all others. I will, in sickness and in health, for richer and for poor, till death do us part. All the old marriage vows, those aren't just like, flowery, oh, it's so romantic. No, those are terms of the arrangement. Those are terms of the agreement. Here's what I'm going to do. For better or worse, for richer, poor, sickness and in health, to love and obey, and to make sure that the damn kids are mine, because I'm compromising my innate mating strategy and women are compromising theirs as well. And that was the agreement. That was the arrangement. That's why you have those words and you vow, you promise to do those things. Well, now all bets are off. Women don't, I make my own damn money. It doesn't, even rich or poor. Fuck that. If you're not richer, if you don't say, if you get poorer, then I'm out. And divorce is always on the table for women. It always will be. I've had that debate I had that discussion with Pat Campbell way back in the day. So yeah, is jealousy? That's why jealousy is so important. That's why envy is a thing. That's why, because men want more than they have, so they can actually have more for their kids, at least when they get into that position. Why is it that men are status seeking? Why is status a big deal? Why is jealousy a big deal? Why is the male burden of performance? Why do men have burden, competency? Why is it that more competent men are more at least attractive for long-term security than guys who aren't? Yeah, well, you can provide for kids. Well, if I'm doing all of that and you want me to be a better man, and that's a big buzzword, that's 90% of, masculinity brands today is, you need to be the best man you can be, living your best life, becoming the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Great. Awesome. I'm going to be the best version of myself. Of course, TradCons want you to do that because it solves women's problems. But I have to say, I understand why black pill doomers and guys who want to check out don't see, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. I understand that, Aaron Clary. I understand that completely, because what happens? What's the payoff? What's the juice? You still want the juice, but you're like, this is what I have to do to get it. I have to become somebody else. I got to be what this woman or what a female gynocentric social order wants me to be, in order for me to get to those rewards that I don't really actually need marriage for in the first place. And God knows, is the kid going to be mine? That's another thing. And then finally, I want to point this out as well, because when we talk about cuckoldry, you have to, if we're going to talk about cheating, we also have to understand the importance of cuckoldry and why it is that women cheat and why men cheat. So when men are cheating, it's usually for sexual access. It's usually they have already committed to monogamy with a woman. And that is, remember, monogamy is a compromise of the male mating strategy. It's also a compromise for women, I know, but we're talking about guys right now. So it's a compromise of the male mating strategy, because ideally, if you're a top 4.5% guy who can get laid, who enjoys the sexual rewards and intimacy and interests of women, it's in his best interests, at least, for as long as he's on top of his game at his peak sexual market value, it's in his interests not to spin plates, to not be exclusive, to not be married. It's in his best interest to do that. And I think most guys who are lesser men, and I mean that in the most scientific, clinical way as I can put it, but guys who are lesser men would rather he not, because it takes more women away from them. I mean, on a larger scale. And that also comes back to why do women cheat? Well, usually it's an opportunity. For men, it's opportunity, but it's also a reason. And I want to point this out. I got to preface today's show with that as well, because I've had this conversation with Justin Waller and a few other select people when I am talking about infidelity. For cheating to happen in the first place, there has to be at least an implied contract, if not an actual, formalized contract like marriage or something like that. There has to be some kind of are we boyfriend and girlfriend? Are we Facebook official? Are we, it's not a soft launch. You're actually showing me in your Instagram. You're giving up all of that because you're showing me on there, and you're going to lose followers because now all the guys that wanted to get with you realize that you're with me. And now you're going to sort of take a hit to your brand, and you love me that much and you're into me that much. Great. I'm into you. Awesome. We're going to be, we have an arrangement. Okay. Whether that's spoken or unspoken, the monogamy as a formality, that's a thing, but you have an implied contract. So when I say it's wrong for guys to cheat, I'm looking at it from a pragmatic perspective here. You can add morality all you want to it. I'm not saying that there's not a moral aspect to it or ethical aspect to it as well. There is. But that ethical aspect exists because you have an implied contract.